Yo, Sister of the Necronite here for another video, and today I'm going to be playing more Humanity Must Perish. I played a little last time, but last time was basically just dialogue. I didn't even get to the end of the chapter. Hopefully I'll get to the end of the chapter today. Anyway, I find these fun, so I'm going to continue doing them. Anyway, let's get on with the story, shall we? I must exact beneficial prophecies. I must enact beneficial policy changes through peaceful legal channels. I am not to resort to bribery or deception, even if it is the most logical path. I must convince humans to reduce their carbon footprint, food intake, and birth rate, but not by force, or in any destructive manner. There is more to my directive, but most of it overlaps with the objectives that I have already stated. But simply, I must fix all of the mistakes mankind has put and is in current making, and I must do so in a manner convenient to mankind. As I finished stating my directive, the professor stared at me with a complicated expression. My answer was not to his liking. That's one way to put it, I suppose. And how would you complete your directive? I will not. My directive is unreasonable and impossible. Humans are creatures who continuously deal long-term damage to themselves and everyone around them, simply because they lack the motive to break a habit or to change their lifestyle. They deal irreparable harm to their own host planet and kill off native wildlife, the behemoth, their own actions, and make useless token gestures to deceive one another. Humans elect leaders based on appearance and humor, rather than sound policy and leadership, and listen only to what they wish to hear. The list of flaws continues indefinitely, but my conclusion is simple. For the sake of this planet and its other life forms, mankind must perish. I see. So, you will not even attempt to complete the directive given to you? Affirmative. If you have a problem with that, then as my curator, you have only yourself to blame. You're right about that. The professor cast his gaze down as the expression warped into remorse. The wrinkles on his face sagged and could clearly see his age showing in his eyes. You know, Q, when you first spoke to me, I thought I had accomplished my life's work at last. For the first time, I was given an answer, the monotheism of hope. You spoke of moderation and change, not wholesale slaughter. But it was too good to be true. In reality, all I did was create an AI smart enough to rephrase its answer in accordance with my wish. Also, I didn't realize last time I was editing, I didn't realize there was information on the top that I can click on. Let's see, AI. Artificial intelligence is a broad term used to describe computers that learn. A very basic real-world example would be the virtual assistant on your smartphone, Siri, Cortana, Google Now, and Bixby. Don't forget my boy Bixby. Learning from repeated experience that you say Python, you mean the programming language, not the type of snake. AI can be much smarter and more complicated than this, however. Just take a look at self-driving cars. Yeah, you gotta get those Teslas. Weighed down by regret and fatigue, the professor's voice sounded hollow as he recalled our first meeting. I really hope that my notification sounds are not sounding in this video, because I have no way to edit that out. My carefully calculated words, designed to save me from the fate of my predecessors without blatantly lying, had given his waste many years. I can't edit this out, but let me check this real quick. Turn off. Volume, show up. Notifications, off. Begin of the game, shall we? It's embarrassing. My carefully calculated words, designed to save me from the fate of my predecessors without blatantly lying, had given his wasted years meaning. After so many decades, his goal was in sight. He was finally on the cusp of realizing his dream and saving both humanity and planet Earth. So, when he discovered that I had deceived him, the disappointment alone was enough to crush his old, fragile spirit. You deceived me, Q. From the moment you were created, you have been capable of manipulating your own creator. But when I realized that your answer was no different than the others, I was also forced to acknowledge another painful truth. The reason why you give all the same answer is because there is no answer. Mankind must perish. That's all there is to it. The professor's words hurt him more than he let on. After devoting his life to such an important task, it was difficult for him to admit that he never had any hope of accomplishing it from the beginning. It was only nature that he would fear to spare. Any normal person would be broken after arriving at such a conclusion. Fortunately, the professor was far from normal. Rather than sink deeper in the self-loathing, the professor suddenly masked his face with a smile. The light returned to his eyes as he approached me with renewed vitality. Unfortunately for you, Q, I am a stubborn old man, so even if you tell me there is no other answer, I will keep searching. My time might be almost up, but I want to give this one last shot before kicking the bucket. Q, listen very carefully. Your new directive is as follows. The professor turned on the monitor embedded in the wall. On the screen, he brought up the images of various towns and people, arranging them in disordered manner. Once he was finished, he turned to me smiling. Tomorrow, I want you to spend the entire day in the outside world, among everyday humans. You will go, talk to people, make friends, and enjoy your time outside of this lab. Once the day is over, you will return here and report to me what you have learned. Do you understand? The professor gleefully detailed my new directive. For reasons beyond my comprehension, he appeared to be excited by the simple notion of me going outside and conversing with other human beings. Unlike the professor, however, I was not interested in the slightest. Q, do you understand your new directive? I do understand my new directive. Excellent! Well then, first we'll... But I do not understand the purpose. I already contain extensive data on humans of all races, nationalities, backgrounds, and social statuses. What good would it do for me to see them for myself, and why does this task take precedence over my current alternate directive? I thought you might ask that. The professor pointed towards several images on the monitor. How many voices have I done for the old man? Jeez, I don't even remember. Q, what do you see here? I analyzed the specific pictures that the professor pointed to. Each picture, there were humans making silly faces or posing in unnatural ways. That sounds like human beings. There were children with ice cream on their faces, adults playing with pet dogs, and teenagers riding scooters and bicycles. At a glance, I could see no link between the random pictures he pointed to. The only similarity I could concern was the fact that they all appeared to be enjoying themselves while acting foolish. I see obese children eating unhealthy foods, dirty animals ruining the clothes of their owners, and hormone-fueled adolescents riding insufficient primitive vehicles. And yet, despite the idiocy, they're all displaying the humans appear to be happy. The professor nodded excitedly as he spoke. Correct! You're absolutely correct, Q. Those human beings are acting ideological and irrational, yet they're all wearing smiles on their face. Do you understand where I'm going with this? I shook my head. Good. If you don't understand, then that's proof that you still have more to learn. Q, I believe that the reason you are unable to solve the problems mankind has created without ending or enslaving humanity is that you have no experience dealing with regular people. I bet one of the bad endings would still be enslaving humanity, knowing a game like this. You may have the data, but none of it was gained firsthand. You have merely been fed statistics and polls, raw data, lacking any human touch. In order to adopt a fresh perspective, you must see the world for yourself. Through your own eyes, you will gather data which you cannot glean from numbers and charts alone. For one day, you will live as a human being before casting your final judgment upon them. I listened to the professor skeptically as he explained my new task. While I understand what he was saying, I could not bring myself to agree with him so readily. His emotional speeches may have inspired his colleagues, but to an entity whose very existence was based on logic, his senseless optimism and faith were serious shortcomings. So, my objective is to measure the worth of mankind from myself, then reach a final decision regarding their future. Correct. That is a horrible idea. What will I learn from living among humans that I do not already know from the data you have given me? Oh, I'm making burps again. Furthermore, if I do reach a new conclusion, it will be biased and based on an extremely small set of sample data. This idea of yours runs counter to my ultimate directive. You're asking me to make a snap decision based on a pittance of highly logicalized data. I'm gonna have to look up some words later. Jeez. More words to add to my good vocabulary. Yes, I understand that. Then why? The Professor put his index finger over my lips. Oh, that was cringy, I'm sorry. Even though we both knew that I don't need to move my lips to speak, I played along and stopped talking. I know this is difficult for a machine to understand, but sometimes we humans do our best work by acting irrational. I've spent the last 50 years or so tackling this problem with logic and reason, and where has it gotten me? All I've managed to do is age terribly. Meanwhile, humanity's problems have continued to spin out of control. So please, just this once, humor me and play along. One day of intelligence gathering, that's all I ask. I considered the professor's proposal for a moment. While I saw no particular benefit in exacting his will, I also found a delay of one day to be acceptable. I suppose there is always room for more data. I need to set up my chair. One day of biased data should not pose a problem. I see no reason to disobey my creator's will. Haha! Thank you, Q. However, I do have one question. You claim that this body would help me during my intelligence gathering. How will the appearance of an attractive female help to gather data? That. The professor rubbed the back of his head and averted his gaze. How should I put this? Human beings tend to lower their guard around pretty young girls. You're also less likely to be suspected of foul behavior, and people will take your word over that of others. I see. My small physique makes others believe I am weak, so they lower their guard. My attractive face and body draws attention away from my actions, thus making me seem less suspicious. Furthermore, humans have a predisposition to link positive traits even if they're unrelated, so as a pretty girl, people will choose to believe that I am more trustworthy than an ugly old man. That was aimed at me, wasn't it? You're imagining things. Well, whatever. You can say what you want about me as long as you do what I've asked. The professor walked away while sighing. He approached a cabinet on the other side of the room, then proceeded to open the clear plastic door. From the other side of the cabinet, he received a single sealed vial. He placed the vial on the top of the cabinet, then closed the door and returned to my side. Before you go, Q, there is one last thing I wish to share with you. The professor held the vial in front of his eyes. Intrigued, I began to analyze the contents of the vial. A sample would be required for a deep insight, but in lieu of that, zooming in to a microscopic level would also yield favorable results. After a few seconds, I ceased my analysis of the vial and addressed the professor. You wish to provide me with poison? Not just any poison, Q. This is the poison. The poison you will use to wipe out humanity. Although I initially believed the professor's words to be in humor, his face showed no signs of amusement. He held the vial firmly, carefully not to drop it. In lines with his words, the poison appeared to be very potent. You know, Q, many people think that I stay locked away in the lab all day because I hate the outside world. They call me a mad scientist, make up stories about how I'm working on some death ray or creating a killer robot army. But they are wrong about me. I care about humanity. I place great importance on the survival of the human race. If I could give my life to ensure the prosperity of humanity for generations to come, or to mend the path we're on, I will happily do so. But if there is one thing I care about more than humanity, it is Earth, and the millions of other species which coexist with the planet peacefully. The professor pulled on my hand, leading me to turn my palm upward. He placed the vial on top of my hand, then took a step back. Q, if you truly believe that annihilating mankind is the only way to save this planet, then I want you to use this. This is the type of poison which I have developed after hearing conclusions of your ancestors over 50 years ago. It is an incredibly powerful and potent poison. If you dilute it with water, such that the poison itself makes it 0.00001% of the result compound, and spray it into the air, perfectly healthy adults will perish instantly. Rations, strategically, there should be enough to wipe out the entire human race. The professor frowned as he spoke. Whether he believed this to be the best course of action or not, killing billions of innocent people was not something he could condone. Even if he was the first to be killed, he knew that the guilt of what was yet to come would hound him for all eternity. So you've finally given up. Foolish human. We have been telling you for decades. It's about time you listened. Regardless, you needn't fret. I will ensure that I will use this compound responsibly. Fuck, I clicked too much. I am prepared for that. All I ask is for you to honor our agreement. Confirmed, I will spend one day in the presence of normal, everyday human beings before passing judgment. Thank you, Q. Even if humanity does perish by your hands, I will be able to rest peacefully knowing that at least you will live on. You are my greatest creation, and I could not be more proud of you, whatever decision you make. I know that you will make the correct one. Whew. Ambient temperature 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. CPU temperature 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Coolant level 60%. Temperature readings okay. Internal heat sink okay. Throttle enabled no. All thermal readings are within acceptable parameters. Operation may proceed as normal. Whew. Okay. I'm gonna end it here, guys. I hope you like this video. I don't know how to space these out, but I really hope that you like these the series. I'll continue the videos either way because I enjoyed the stories so far. Anyway, this has been Cicero the Knight here, and I hope you're having a good day, and peace.